What's going on, Golf Internet? Pete Berger, aka the Tattooed Golf Guy, and we are back with part 2 of Stephen Reed's What's in the Bag. If you watched part 1 and you're coming over from that, I just want to start off by saying thank you for watching that and thank you for coming over. You heard a absolutely wild backstory about a insane path to get to the bag that he has now, and to me, I got to see it all personally, and it was mind-boggling, and I felt absolutely awful for this poor guy the whole time. But I also know that it's something that I kind of went through as well, and that I think that most of you can relate to. But now we are getting to the good stuff. We're going to be talking about what's in his bag, why it's in his bag, and this is what I live for. All right, Stephen, first, before we get to what's inside of the bag, I want you to tell me about the bag itself.
So the bag itself is actually something I was really excited about. The bag is a ghost bag.
Okay.
It's the Any Day Ghost bag, and I did find a deal on it. There
Really?
was an expo last weekend
At the Cleveland Golf Show.
at the Cleveland Golf Show, but it is a
was a
high
good thing.
quality bag.
It sure is, man.
It's
It's one of the most known names on the market. I love a company that really specializes in one area. Like I think about lab putters. Like
Yeah.
all that lab does is make putters.
yeah.
It's hard for a lot of companies to specialize in a lot of different things, and Ghost definitely has nailed
Yeah.
what they specialize in. Now, asking about this because I know you and I golf together a lot, and we are walkers.
Yep.
We really do not like taking a cart unless we absolutely have to.
God gave us 2 legs. Why not use them?
It's sure, and that's going to be a whole other video, my opinion on walking or riding, but we are walkers.
Yep.
And a 14-way is usually not associated with being a lighter or walking friendly bag.
Yeah.
It's usually a cart bag that you find that in. How do you feel that this is with walking?
So that's something I really looked into, is like I really cared about the shoulders,
Mhm.
because I did have a walking bag prior, and they weren't quality like shoulder straps.
Sure.
And so that was something big on these. These are high quality, comfortable shoulder straps that are not going to dig into my shoulders. As
I want
walk.
to give my opinion on shoulder straps and some of my experience, but that's something I can't necessarily touch on just yet. I am not allowed to say anything on that topic for about another month.
Okay.
But
Gotcha.
I'm very excited for that.
So
That's a little hint.
the other thing about this bag is, if you look at the other hybrid 14-way, carry stand
Sure.
bags, is the weight issue.
Yeah, that's kind of what I'm
And so
getting
this
at here.
is 6 pounds, and
Wonderful.
it does not feel heavy at all. I had another walking bag, and it just felt heavy, and that was one of my biggest concerns is when I was researching.
And that was a
bags.
designated walking bag.
Yep.
Sure.
So
Wow.
this is a hybrid 14-way. It's 6 pounds.
Let's start getting into some gear. Talk to me about the ball that you play.
So starting out, I went with your advice and went with just the Kirkland signature golf ball. Basically just to help me get back into it, figure
Sure.
out where it's a baseline.
Sure. There are a lot of people out there that are, dumping $55 a dozen to lose that dozen while playing golf. Like we were talking about in part 1, golf is expensive enough. It doesn't make a lot of sense to me to pay, a lot of money for a round, a lot of money for clubs, and then another $55 in a round just for balls that you're going to lose. I think that those more premium balls are for players that, need them, and players that can even see a difference in that flight.
I have in my history have known to lose 12 balls in a round of golf.
Of course, we all have.
So-
We've all been there. There's days where where a scratch golfer is going to lose almost that just on a bad day. It happens. Steven has some speed, and he does not want to admit that, but he does. The thing that comes with speed and being a little bit higher of a handicap is that your dispersion is bigger. And when you have a bigger dispersion with that speed, that equals lost balls.
My ball would literally curve out left, and then curve far
the
right.
Big pull slice.
Oh, it was horrible.
Oh my
and
God.
I went through many of coaches and classes and summer classes of summer camps for golf, and many coaches were pulling their hair out, not knowing, have any idea how are you physically possible of doing that.
So once we get into the bag, this is going to be something that we do in every video on this channel. We are going to structure it this way. If you know me, and you know me, I'm a big time putter guy. So the putter is going to be like the main event of WrestleMania. Each video, we're going to save that for last. But we are going to start the bottom of the bag. We're going to start with the wedges, go to the irons,
Okay.
woods, driver, and then circle back
Sounds good.
to the putter. And that's just out of my own selfishness. It's my channel, so.
I would start the other way, but
So, talk to me about the wedges. Let's talk gapping. Let's talk model. Let's talk why.
okay. So I
Grab it up.
have went with the new Titleist SM 10s, and the shafts are the wedge flex shaft Titleist. Oh, they're actually Titleist shafts.
I'm having a Gear Talk channel, and me, if I say this and I'm wrong, you are not allowed to judge me. I believe that they are true temper dynamical tour issues that Titleist uses, and I believe they are the S200s. If I'm wrong, put it in the comments. I Googled it at some point, and I'm pretty sure that's what it is, but the stock ones don't have that labeled.
So I took the advice of the fitter.
As you should.
I in my mindset, in my OCD-ness, I was like, I want the same shaft through all my irons, including wedges, and was strongly recommended not to do so because the shafts that went in my irons, and I'll get there.
I'm really glad that your fitter said that.
He says that they have really poor reviews, and he would strongly recommend that I stick with the regular
Wedge shaft
from Titleist.
Because again, you do have a lot of speed, and what loft wedges do you play?
So I went through the Titleist. They have this.
Their online test.
At my fitting, and they suggested, and I went with it, a 48 10F, a 54 12D, and a 58 10S, all set at 35 inches.
Single length.
Single length.
So you are very Bryson DeChambeau with your wedges.
I love that idea across the irons, and someday maybe.
I'm with you too. Just seems to just make sense.
I like simplicity, and I'm very analytical in everything I do, and in my job. And sometimes I drive certain people crazy, but I love the idea, and I believe it across every aspect of kind of what I do is KIS. Keep it simple.
Stupid.
No, I don't.
Yeah.
I can leave that one. I can leave the last S out, but keep KIS. Keep it simple.
It's unique for me to see a 48 degree.
Yep.
That is in part due to the gapping, and I think that you had great gapping. Gapping with the irons that you ended up going with. So talk to me about the irons, but let's start off with what is the loft of the pitching wedge to have you go with a 48 degree gap wedge?
So
right here on the bottom of the pitching wedge is 43 degrees of loft.
Yep. And the 48 is what they suggested. I'm looking at yardage at about 110, 120 yards, maybe a little less. That's on a full swing.
In what club?
48.
Okay. You are also somebody who you like a lower ball flight,
I do.
correct?
I do like
so
lower.
those with your spin rates and the little bit stronger lofted, this does provide you with that lower flight, that more penetrating flight, correct?
Yeah, and that's kind of what went with the shaft wise.
Let's do shaft, and then
Well-
we'll talk about model of iron after.
Gotcha. So the shaft is a Project X rifle, stiff shaft.
Stiff flex, yeah, I see it's the 6.0.
Yep.
You and I both did something very similar with that. I go X stiff in my woods,
Mm-hmm.
driver included, but I really liked the kick point of the 6.0 Project X shaft. I have the XLZ because I like a higher launch. That's my personal preference. I also have a whole lot of shaft lean at impact. You don't have the same issue that I do. You don't have as much forward press then, but the kick point and the launch in the iron shafts is something that I like better. But for you like that lower launch, and your head is what helps you with that. Talk to me about the heads.
The head is a Titleist T200.
And is that 4 through pitching wedge?
That is pitching wedge through 5.
5 iron.
I did not go with a 4.
Okay. Talk to me about
And
that.
That's because I struggled, in the
It's
last
a
few
long
months.
iron.
It is a long iron.
Yeah.
I started struggling at the 6 iron.
You started struggling at 6.
And I started getting better here in the last, few weeks, getting better at the 6, studying more, looking at, getting better really at the 5, done a lot better at that.
Is your 5 iron also a T200?
They're all T200s.
Wonderful. So gapping wise after 5 iron, what do you go to after 5?
7 wood.
You go to a 7 wood.
I went with the 7 wood GT2s, Titleist GT2s.
The GT2s.
Yeah. There was an option. They suggested the GT3s. However, I have my own craziness and OCDness. I don't like the idea of adjusting a wood or a driver, and that's
Wait,
the
hold on.
GT3s. Like, I believe a standard, there's a standard swing.
So you were technically fit into the GT3s.
Yep.
Which is less forgiving,
Yep.
more workable.
Yep.
And you went with the more forgiving model
Mm-hmm.
because you didn't want to be able to adjust things?
So in my mind, it's KIS. Keep it simple. My goal is to fix my swing.
I would love to see you with the brand new Cobra hosel adapter.
Well, we're not there yet.
The
That's
future,
another.
if you don't know about that yet, Cobra this year came out with something called the Future Fit 33, and their hosel adapter has 33 different settings on top of, especially if you get the LS model, they have the weights in the heel, toe, and back. That would probably send you into a clinical spiral.
Oh, absolutely. Yeah.
I know that.
You're already causing me anxiety thinking about that.
Wonderful. So, what shafts do you have in your woods? You said that you play a 7 wood and a 5 wood, correct?
I do. I went with a 7 wood and a 5 wood. I did not go with a 3 wood. I couldn't hit a 3 wood at the fitting.
So, do you have 13 clubs in your bag?
I do. I have 1 extra spot. And that will be at some point when I have that.
Mini driver.
No. If anything, it will be a super 3 wood.
Oh, so a mini driver.
No.
A 13 and a half degree 3 wood.
It's just a step down from that.
It's a 2 wood.
Anyways, the shaft is the Project X
Hazardous black.
Hazardous Black. The woods are a 70 gram 6.0.
So you went decently heavy. So
Yep.
70 is a bit heavier. With your speed, that makes sense because heavier shaft is going to offer more stability. Now, I have played the Hazardous Black before. Personally, I struggle with it. It feels like it has no kick point whatsoever to me. And it was, again, I'm also somebody who likes a higher launch. I like a higher ball flight. That's me. You like a lower ball flight. So the Hazardous Black to me makes a lot of sense for you because I couldn't get my driver over 85 feet with it. I couldn't do it. But now, I mean, I switched shafts. I'm getting about 120. I'm also getting 120 through my entire bag. But is it that nice low penetrating ball flight?
It's a lot lower than I was getting with not as heavy and not as stiff.
So I know
I had an issue when I was going through woods and irons where I was they were high, really high, and then they would just fall out of the sky.
So okay, we have been Titleist throughout the entire bag so far. I think I could probably guess what the driver is.
It is the GT2 9-degree driver. And the shaft is exactly the same as the Woods. It is the Hazardous Black. Instead of the 70 gram, it's the 60 gram 6.0.
So a little bit lighter with that shaft, getting a bit more speed out of it. Most likely, how do these feel to you?
I like them.
Yeah?
I do. There's a lot of things I need to work on to actually hit it.
We all do, bud.
I think I've always struggled with the driver.
You also said, I'm pretty sure I think this was off camera, you go with the A2 Titleist setting. Do you go with that with driver and both Woods as well?
Yes.
So that, for those of you who don't know, the A2 setting is standard loft, but 2 degrees upright. So that kind of helps you with that right miss, getting it started a bit more left. Now, you also went GT2 here. Did they suggest a GT3 with the driver as well, or were you fit into the two?
I was fitted into the GT3s.
You were fit all throughout?
Yep.
Wow.
And I said, no, I'll stick with the GT2s.
No, I have to really commend that because so many people go into their fittings making excuses, saying that they're better than they are, that they should be playing, LS this or, blade that or muscle back this. It's very rare that somebody's fit into something a little bit less forgiving and they put the ego aside and fit into something that they know is going to help them out more. I commend that more than anything. But circling off of the driver,
yep.
Let's get into the best part of any golf bag, our putter. Now,
so I have a 2011 Titleist Scotty Cameron Studio Select Newport 2.
A Studio Select.
Studio Select with a ping.
And for those of you who don't know, I'm going to put it up here as well. Whoever had this putter before you was definitely a Tiger fan. Because Tiger Woods, I mean, his is not a 2011, but he has a Newport 2 with this exact ping pistol grip. This is the exact Tiger Woods setup, just about a decade newer. To me, and again, I love putters. Last year, I went through a phase. I think I had 7 or 8 different putters in the bag last year. Some people want to change their putters out and collect them and change them out as often as they possibly can. And then there's others, like Tiger Woods, who uses the same putter until the end of time. Where do you think you see yourself falling on the spectrum with that?
This will get me going this year and potentially throughout the year. However, there is a putter that I am very interested in.
Okay.
However, my theory at the moment is I got to get to that green first.
Okay.
So let's worry about
Fair enough.
Let's worry about.
Oh, that makes me sad because all I want to do is talk about putters. But we will definitely do a update probably sometime in the summer, and I will be excited to see that new putter that you're inevitably going to get. But for right now, you really cannot go wrong with a Newport 2.
No, it's.
I know it gets a lot of hate, but I think it's as popular as it is for a reason, and I think that you have an absolutely gorgeous, clean model, and the way that you got it is very, very impressive. Steven, I thank you so much for coming on and talking gear with me and for being my first ever episode. This has been an absolute blast. And we're definitely going to have you back in the summertime to see what those updates are. And I look forward to playing a whole lot of golf with you this year. This year, when we do our course vlogs, you're going to be seeing a whole lot of Steven's game, whether he likes it or not. You're going to see the good and bad with me. You're going to see the good and bad with him. Thank you all for tuning in to the first episode of Gear Talk, and we will be coming soon with episode 2. Thank you very much.